All right, guys, this is a 2014 Kia Soul with the 2.0. Currently, it doesn't run. Customer was driving it. It shut off on him. It has a code for crankshaft, camshaft correlation, and that's it. It'll turn over, but it's definitely not in time. Customer tells me someone did a timing chain job 1,000 miles ago, and it ran good for 1,000 miles, and all of a sudden stopped driving. Well, I would bet, if I had to guess, that they didn't replace the phasers, the VVT phasers, and the pin, the dowel pin that holds the phasers to the camshaft. I would bet that that pin is sheared, and that's why it's out of time. But we'll see. We got to tear it down. So preemptively, I bought two camshafts, both camshafts, VVT phasers, guides, tensioner, new timing chain. I bought all of that just to make sure. Of course, other shops wanted to just sell them a whole engine, which, yeah, I understand. But we'll see when we tear it down. So we have all the parts. If that's what we're going to do, we're going to do it. So first thing, take off the battery, and we're going to start some tear down. Obviously, valve cover needs to come off, all these accessories, and the timing cover. So let's get to that. Here's some of our new parts, guys. We had to order some of it separately. This is the intake camshaft. It was hard to find. The exhaust camshaft was easier to find. Here's the new phaser, and that pin I was telling you about. Look at that dowel pin right there. That dowel pin slides into the biggest hole on this camshaft, and it will shear because it's too thin, and just the phaser will no longer be in time with the camshaft. So that's my guess as to what's going on in the car. So we also obviously have both phasers, chain, tensioner, guides, etc. So let's start the teardown on this thing. Initial teardown is pretty straightforward. We're going to do the battery, unplug all the sensors, wiring harness. We're going to take the high pressure fuel pump off. This, I actually only disconnect the supply line, and I let the fuel pump rest it over to the side. You do not have to take off this line right there. Obviously coil packs. We're going to get to the valve cover, dipstick, just stuff like this. Take off the ground strap. And then we're going to go for the motor mount, alternator, water pump, timing cover, all of these things. So probably won't show much of this. This is pretty straightforward stuff. All right, guys, it shouldn't take you very long to get to this point. It's been about 10 minutes with power tools. Valve covers off, wiring harness, fuel pump to the side. So something I want to note, remember how I said someone did a timing job about 1,000 miles ago, and I guessed that they didn't replace the phasers? Well, I was wrong. Here's the phasers. They are replaced. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure what happened, if a pin sheared and that's why they replaced these. But then the female port for the pin, the dowel pin, maybe the female port on one of the cams, probably the exhaust cam, was maybe damaged, and they tried to reuse the cam, and that's why it sheared again. I'm not exactly sure. It's gonna take pulling off these phasers to find out, but obviously I have a lot of work on the line. Hopefully it's not too big of a risk. So we're gonna keep tearing down. We're gonna go for this motor mount, obviously alternator. I don't know if the whole water pump has to come off or just the pulley for it. We'll see. And then crank pulley, serpentine belt, etc. So yeah, let's get at this motor mount alternator. All right, now we're at this point. We got this wheel off. We got this piece. It's two 10mm bolts off. Our motor's jacked up on a wood block, and the splash shield is off. That's all 10mm bolts underneath. Haven't got the motor mount off yet. That will happen probably next. We can take it off now since the motor's supported, and then we'll go ahead and work on all these other things to get this timing cover off. All right, motor mount's off. We are going to take this serpentine belt off. There is no tensioner for it. I like to take it off just by pulling off the bolts for the water pump pulley. I'll show you for reinstallation how we'll do that though. But anyways, so what we're gonna do right now is set up top dead center. This is your crankshaft bolt, obviously, and we're gonna rotate it over clockwise only until the mark on the dampener, you can't see here, you'll see on your car, there's a pedestal. It says 0 degrees, 5 degrees, 10 degrees. We're gonna set it at 0 degrees, the dash on the dampener, and we'll set top dead center. And we should see corresponding, these lines should be facing each other. There's a line on each of these VVT phasers. They should be facing each other. We should have dots on these that face up, and that's TDC. And then we'll keep going on the rest of this thing. Guys, this is that top dead center I was talking about. Both those dashes on the phasers in the middle are facing each other, and our dots right there and there are at 12 o'clock. Actually, this exhaust one looks out of spec. That might be our issue. I think our phaser is spun on the cam. This is supposed to be 12 o'clock like that one. Also, our harmonic balancer is at 0 degrees. I just used my 7/8 inch socket to turn the engine over clockwise. Had to do it 2 revolutions till I got those to line up, those dashes. So anyway, let's get this timing cover off. Belt, pulley, alternator, timing cover. Guys, I hadn't worked on these in a long time. I forgot, correct me, but there is a tensioner, a belt tensioner right there next to the alternator. So I went ahead and pulled off the water pump pulley, but for reinstallation, we will use that tensioner for the serpentine belt. It's not a stretch belt like I thought I remembered. So yeah, we're gonna get this alternator off, and because it's blocking the timing cover, so you have to get the alternator out of there to get the timing cover off. And then we could take off our harmonic balancer and then timing cover bolts. There you go. Just went ahead and made some Sharpie reference marks. These really don't matter. We're replacing all these parts. I just want to kind of get a log because we are replacing these camshafts. So I made some lines. I mean, just to be able to tell, I mean, just for some extra help. But the dowel pins are going to set the phasers, and the phasers have marks, so that's how you set the cams. We're going to eventually take all these cam caps off. So we got this alternator out. It's just 2 bolts, comes right out. We're going to take this dampener off, and then the timing cover, and then we'll get these timing chain and phasers off. Guys, another thing to note, when you pull off this harmonic balancer, there's a keyway that holds it on, okay, that dowel pin. And that dowel pin is supposed to be at 12 o'clock north. That is top dead center. When we mock up this timing chain, we'll put the cover back on, not bolt it in, just put it on and put the dampener on to make sure it's at 0 degrees like we were before. All right, guys, we got this front cover off. Here's what it looks like. I keep all the bolts in the same hole. Just undo them so they're all the way backed out, but push them back in slightly so that when you pull the cover off, they don't fall out. And the RTV gasket should help with that. There are a few sneaky bolts under the cover, 4 10mm bolts from underneath the oil pan. Here's that 0 degree timing mark I was talking about. Anyway, okay. So we're at top dead center right now. We're going to pull this timing chain. Eventually the phaser's out. Tensioner, we have a new one. Compare all your parts right now, make sure everything is gonna work, and then start this teardown. Guys, I hate to say it, but I was wrong about these pin shearing. Look at the female ports on the camshafts, it looks good. Same with the male dowel pins on the phasers, they look good. So I don't know why this car was out of time. I really hope it wasn't those friggin' camshaft crankshaft sensors. I don't think so. Because it went to a few shops, customer brought it, diagnosed it to a few shops, they said it needs a whole engine. So I don't think, it doesn't have a broken crank or anything like that. I know that for sure. Cams are in good shape. By the way, you shouldn't use vice grips on these camshafts. It's just that my adjustable wrench was too wide to fit in this gap. They make it super narrow. So anyway, I don't know. I'm going to talk to the customer, see what we're going to do from here. Put it back together? I don't know. So anyway, just showing you guys, that's the update. All right, guys, I talked to the customer. He said we're going to return the camshafts because the holes for the dowel pins look good. We're just going to do the new phasers, timing set, guides, tensioner, and see if it does any better. And if it doesn't, we're going to have to do the sensors, camshaft sensors, crankshaft sensors, maybe even these VVT solenoids, not sure. That would be a real pain in the butt if that's the case. I really expected to see a sheared pin on this exhaust phaser. So we're going to put it back together. I just torqued these down, these 14mm bolts to 50 foot-pounds. Our lines aren't quite in the middle yet. That's why I have these vice grips on to move them as I set my chain. So I'm going to bolt in the new guides, and then we'll set up our chain, and I'll show you the links that match up with the paint dots. All right, guys, this is how you set time on this engine. Same thing. Those lines are touching. Golden chain link is matched up with the dot. Same thing. Down here, crankshaft is still at top dead center. I put the bolt on, but there's your golden chain link on the dot. You want the slack on this side. So when you're ready, so this side is tight. I'm ready to pull the pin. I'm gonna actually hold the tensioner forward. So now there's no more slack, so it doesn't skip a tooth. Hold that forward and use my other hand to pull that pin out on the tensioner, and then our timing is set. At our timing set, we're gonna put our crankshaft bolt back on the crankshaft, rotate the engine over 2 revolutions, see if your lines, your dots, your gold link chains are not gonna match up, but you want those lines to match up, and you want the dowel pin on the crankshaft to be at the 12 o'clock north position. So that's how you know you're at top dead center and you're timed correctly. Rotate the engine over 2 times. If you want, you can mock up the timing cover and put the balancer on and see if it's at the 0 degree mark right here to make sure we're timed. So I'm gonna do that right now. This is what I mean by mocking up the timing cover. I just put the timing cover back on and I put in 2 bolts just barely by hand so that I could put the harmonic balancer back on. And of course, there's the dowel pin, and I didn't shove mine in all the way, but the dowel pin's lined up, and the little hash on the harmonic balancer is right on the 0 degrees. So we know we are fully timed. Of course, those lines are timed as well. So we know our camshafts are timed in correlation to our crankshaft. So we're gonna take this cover back off, scrape off all the old RTV, reseal this thing, and put this thing back together. This process will fly by. I may not record much of this. Guys, I think I may have just found our issue, or definitely a issue. See how there's an O-ring in that groove for the oil pump? This one does not have an O-ring. I looked everywhere on the ground in the oil pan. It's not like I dropped it. Again, someone just did a timing job 1,000 miles ago, and they put RTV all on that port. I had to clean it off. So I think they lost the seal and used RTV, and that's what was giving bad oil pressure and all of those issues with these VVT solenoids. So we'll see. I'm gonna run and go grab that gasket, that O-ring to replace. Part number at AutoZone for that is TCS 46167. It's like 20 bucks at AutoZone. So I'm gonna run and grab those O-rings and we'll get this car back together. All right, guys, we went ahead and got those O-rings in. It actually comes in a kit with a new front seal as well, and I don't know, that must go to the oil pump, but here's the old one. I just replaced it because it was a little flat, and then the one that was missing. Here's your RTV, oil maker, oil gasket maker, oil resistant. I'm gonna apply a bead on the cover, and then we'll put the cover back on, run a few bolts in, make sure everything's cleaned up. I actually need to still clean this bottom oil pan up. Clean it all up, make sure it's good, and put this timing cover back on. All right, guys, motor mount's back on, alternator's in. Make sure to put the ground strap to it. Use the tensioner for the serpentine belt. Tighten up those 4 10mm bolts for the water pump pulley. And yeah, I just used an impact gun to get the bolt back on for the harmonic balancer. I tightened all of the bolts cross pattern just kind of evenly for the timing cover. And what else? We're gonna keep flying on this. Got the ground strap in. We're gonna do the valve cover, wipe this down. Make sure you don't need to replace your valve cover gasket. If you do, then do that. If there's any oil in the spark plug tubes, then you need to replace your spark plug tube seals now. Wipe this all down, do that, add a little bit of RTV. I'm gonna scrape that off and add a little bit in those 2 points. Yeah, let's keep putting this thing back together. All right, guys, that's it as far as the engine goes. I'm gonna do an oil change. I advise you do too, but everything's put back together. Still gotta put on this wheel and splash guard, and then we're gonna go for a first start and a run on a drive on this thing. Don't forget to plug anything back in, go check over it, make sure everything's good. I'll show you the first start. Guys, there's the first start on this thing. As you can see, we're running good, and I don't have any codes, so we're just going over everything. So there you go, not too bad.